Our next speaker is Dr. Minh, who is an author and consultant in finance and artificial intelligence at Centaurs in New York. He formerly worked at Lehman Brothers, Neuberger Berman, and Bloomberg LP as a senior quantitative researcher, portfolio manager, and a product manager. He's a graduate of the French École Polytechnique and Harvard University, where he received his PhD in economics, and he was advised by two Harvard professors, Eric Maskin and Oliver Hart, both of them Nobel laureates. And his last book, Foundations of Artificial Intelligence Finance, Investing in 21st Century, has just come out. So congratulations on that. And we cannot wait to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you, Homa. Let me share my slides. Okay, do you see them?
Yes, we do see your slides.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you for having me in this very interesting conference. So I'm going to talk about, I'm not a biomedical researcher, right? As Homa said, I'm more focused on economics, finance. I've been working on AI for good, so that encompasses a bit of healthcare. So, my talk will be a bit different from my two predecessors. But the topic will be human AI collaboration, right? And you'll see why it is so important. So I'll go briefly on that slide, but AI in biomedicine, have you seen from the Namshik's presentation, how as a fruitful area of research it has become. Here, this is a graph of a PubMed. PubMed is a depository of medical papers, and you see that papers addressing AI has really increased like exponentially, right, since the mid 2010s. And you see, for instance, in 2023, a lot of papers on precision medicine, radionomics, delivery of healthcare, COVID, of course, reproducibility of results, ethics, and ChatGPT, right? That an indication Namshik have mentioned. So first, AI for productivity boost. So it's here like how AI can be used. So you see like two pictures. So so you see a medical doctor who looks very depressed, right? Who looks very sad, and he's probably asked to enter some data into the computer, right? Patient data. He has to report. He has to do this after a long day, spending at the hospital with patients. So he doesn't look very happy, right? So we hope that AI can help him do that, right? So perform a streamlined administrative task. One way is to do it, by he could just like record his his report, and the AI will type it, right? So it would be an idea. For the second picture, so that the other doctor, he doesn't look unhappy. So she's using a medical device that doesn't exist. It's called a tricorder. So tricorder, if you you have watched TVs in the past, it is a medical device from Star Trek, the TV series. So the doctors in Star Trek, right? So in space, they use the tricorders to diagnose patients, right? So use this, and you get all the data that you need for a medical doctor. But you see that doctor also have a stethoscope, right, on her neck. A stethoscope has been like invented in I believe in the 60s. Even a concept even probably introduced in the 19th century. But still, a stethoscope is what medical doctors use today in the 21st century. If you go to medical school, they're still taught how to use a stethoscope, and there's no tricorders around. Okay? And you go and see your primary care doctor, nobody is holding anything fancy in their hand, right, to give you a diagnostic. Even if you have to take some tests, you rarely get any tests on site, right? The doctor will order some tests, and we are lucky you get the test in the next few days. Sometimes it can take a week. So it's very strange that how the care is delivered today, right? You should expect that the doctor will have some tools, diagnose you, to do all the tests, and then tell you what you have. But this is not the case today. So AI should help to design this kind of tools, like the tricorder or like these kind of things. So they help for data analysis, hypothesis testing on site with the medical doctor, and of course for in medical research or biomedical research. Other applications, I won't go over all of them. brainstorming, generating ideas, forming hypotheses, exploring the literature. The literature in medical science is so huge, right? Like millions of papers are produced, hundreds of thousands, even in your own area of research, probably every 2-3 years. So it's very difficult. It's impossible to follow everything. So if an AI could be competent enough to tell you, what is relevant, and what would be useful for you to read, will be a huge productivity boost. A recent paper that has been published recently, I recommend you to read it. It has been published on like November 13 by Microsoft Research on a preliminary study of GPT-4 for scientific research, right? So scientific discovery. So it has applications for medical science. So it's very interesting. In fact, when you read it, you find out that in fact GPT-4 has a lot of potential, but we are not there yet, right? So even like simple things as giving the chemical sequence of molecule and so on, it doesn't do it makes mistakes, right? It's still a lot of mistakes. So it's very promising, but we're not there yet. So AI, I'm an economist by training, so we talk a lot about substitute and complement, right? So substitutes means that it could replace some of our tasks, right? So a substitute for labor means that it's replacing workers. So two MIT economists, MIT at the other Cambridge, Darren Acemoglu and Sama Johnson wrote a book, Power and Progress, where they study technology. And they also mentioned an article that they wrote for Stanford Innovation Review. What they say, rapid advances in AI threaten to eliminate many jobs, and not just those of writers and actors. Jobs with routine elements, such as in regulatory compliance or clerical work, and those that involve simple data collection, data summary, and writing tasks are likely to disappear, right? And recently, right, of course, you might have the negotiation with the unions between you're on the West Coast, right? You're closer to Hollywood than myself. So you see all these actors having on strike being threatened by AI, right? So AI can be a substitute, it can be a complement. So it should be able to coexist with humans. And so being a complement and help augment the humans and help the researchers, the biomedical researchers, the doctors to do more things or do things better. There's a very important caveat about economic and career incentives, right? AI will only be successful if if people who are going to use AI find a benefit, right? So career benefit, professional benefit, financial benefit, or like a scientific benefit, right? But if you tell, okay, this AI is going to replace you, nobody is going to use it, right? So the incentives are not going to be there, right? And last point is that in highly regulated industries, that's like healthcare, so you're lucky to be in that space, integration of AI is posing lower risk, right? Because you are highly regulated. So it's very, it's very unlikely that doctors are going to be replaced by AI. It's very, very unlikely in the next, I would say, in the next 40, 50 years, right? It's even nurses and so on. It's I don't see this this coming. One way to help the implementation of AI is what I think people who are based in Stanford are very familiar with this concept of human-centered AI, right? So human-centered AI means that we are not going to do AI just to replace people or to create a super intelligence that's going to be able to do everything, right? So this is not the way to we should do it. It's like human-centered AI means that not humans are at the center of how AI is developed. So you see that these 5 boxes. I won't go over everything, but the main ideas would be first, it starts with user-centric design, right? So it means that you involve the end users. So here it could be the medical doctors, the medical professionals, it could be the patients, but you involve them in the development process. So it means you don't do it in your lab and then you say, oh, by the way, I have that thing that can diagnose this disease and so on, right? So they have to be involved from the beginning. You have to understand their needs, their preferences, their pain points, right? And these, I think, people who work with startups are very familiar with these things, like design thinking, and it's a very natural way to think of this. By iteration, iterate design based on the feedbacks and the continuous improvements, right? So it's very, very familiar. You need ethical considerations for AI, right? So you need to embed ethical principles into AI, you know, from the beginning, system design and deployment. Address all the biases, ensure fairness in algorithms, prioritize privacy and data security, and seeking informed consent. So this is critical in healthcare, right? If you don't do it, this is not going to work out. You need for the AI to be successful and to be used, right? Because you can have like develop a great AI product, but maybe nobody is going to use it. Why? Because there's no transparency and no explainability, right? The time you say, oh, this AI, I don't agree with the AI. Why does the AI tells me that? If you cannot say the AI is telling me this because of these factors and so on, you can explain the results, it's not going to be adopted, right? So you really need to think of this when you design your AI system. The last two boxes, I think, are still important. Interdisciplinary collaborations. It's something that is harder and harder to do, but it's more and more critical. So it's kind of a paradox, right? Because the field of knowledge, I mean, you're in Cambridge, some of you at Stanford, I did my PhD at Harvard. So I've seen this with my own eyes, right? In different departments, we know that we should talk to our colleagues in the other departments, but we never do because we are so busy with our own things. We never follow the literature in the other fields because it's not possible. there's the literature in our own fields. So, you know, even though we know, for instance, AI is, you know, it's computer science. It could be a bit of economics. It's so for in your fields, it could be biology. It could be and so on. And many of these people sometimes are not in the same buildings. You know, they don't go to the same seminars. They don't go to the same conferences. They don't publish in the same journals, right? So it's very difficult to work with them. But something that we need to do. Then at the end, once it is deployed, because AI is kind of almost like a living organism, so you have new data coming, it gets retrained, recalibrated, and so on. So it's critical to have continuous monitoring and adaptation of the system. Right? So it's much more difficult to, it's much more critical to monitor the systems. So how can AI be used in human AI collaboration? So I can see. I try to simplify it a little bit. So I can see two dimensions. One is in terms of timing, right? So AI can intervene before the medical professional, you know, talks to the patient, right? So it could be in research, right? So AI could be used for that's what Namshik has done and Nikesh is doing. You do it before, or like in the research stage, or you do it for preventive care, right? So preventive care. I'll talk about this later on a bit before people meet their doctors. It can be used at the same time as the medical professional. So it can be as a tool, a supporting tool. Right? So we talk about we saw the tricorder tool. Or it could be used, so what we call the economists call like an agent. Right? Principal means that you are the boss. The agent means that you are the subordinate. Right? So the principal agent paradigm, where the AI is working for the doctor or the medical professional. Or AI could be used as a principal, so meaning that the AI is like not equivalent, but at least the opinion of the AI will be considered in parallel, in conjunction with the opinion of the medical professional. Right? So you already have that between human doctors. Right? For instance, I was going on looking at the Stanford Medical School have a second opinion services. So you pay $700 and can have a second opinion from the medical doctor from the Stanford Medical School. Now you have a second opinion. So if you say that, you know, I need a surgery, my doctor in New York, and I want to have the opinion of a second doctor at Stanford. I pay $700 and I get a second opinion. So you could think that in the future, AI would be able to do that in the future. And that opinion can be weighted, right? Could be I might listen to the AI opinion, but I give like a small weight, right? Maybe only 5% weight and 95% on the human doctor. And then once the patient is released, then it's not the problem of the hospital anymore, but it's still a big problem for the patients, right? The patient can relapse, and even you as a medical professional, you might want to know, okay, what's happening to my patient 6 months after, 1 year after, 5 years after, you know, how the surgery has done, and usually you often you don't have any news. So AI could be maybe help to to do some monitoring, give alerts, and maybe suggest follow-up medical visits. This is a theory, but in practice, a lot of unresolved, like ethical, legal, regulatory, and economic questions and challenges. Right? One very simple questions that we have that you have in hospitals: how do you bill an AI? Right? For instance, you had a second opinion from an AI. How do you get billed for it? Right? And today, you cannot bill like a procedure to an AI doctor or AI expert. So there's a lot of things in practice. I'll go quickly on these studies. I mean, but you'll have them, and I can share the slides if you want. So here it's about preventive care. So this is like a paper I'm mentioning. So I find it interesting because they are listing. So these are data that the CDC is collecting, and you see a list of biomarkers. Right? So biomarkers are like the data on patients. So it could be, blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, hepatitis B, C, HIV screening, all these kind of things, obesity screening, and so on. And in theory, you are able to collect this from all the patients. It's a very good way to implement preventive care, right? Preventive medicine. And once you have this data, you can suggest, patients or people to do some. To go on a diet or to smoke less or to stop smoking and so on, and they could save a lot of this could save a lot of money, right, to the healthcare, because once someone sees the doctor, it's already a bit too late, Alas, the bad news, at least in the US, only 8% of Americans undergo routine preventive screenings, right? Only 8%. So, I mean, most people don't do anything about it. So this is, and doctors know, right? Very often, you're like obese, it causes a lot of a lot of problem, diabetes, and so on. You smoke, it's the same thing, right? This is a second study I wanted to mention. So this is like the collaboration between humans and AI. So this is in the field of radiology, right? So this was done by some economists at MIT. So they do an experiment where they use a professional radiologist, and they give them access to AI tools, right? So they want to compare the outcome, AI only, right? So we know that AI is doing pretty well in radiology, right? There's a lot of studies. It's one of the primary field for AI application, radiology. Even one of the famous Turing Award winner predicted that radiologists wouldn't exist anymore, or something by now. He was wrong, but so anyway, so you have a professional like radiologist, and you give them access to AI or not, and you compare the outcome. And contrary to expectations, AI assistance doesn't consistently improve diagnostic quality. Okay, and it depends on the certainty of the AI predictions, right? And one reason is that there are biases in how the radiologists incorporate the AI information. Okay, they don't do it using like Bayesian law, like that you see, like you did some statistics, you have like Bayesian laws, you incorporate, you have prior and you incorporate posterior information. They don't use that, so they use some heuristic that introduce biases. So in particular, they suffer from what they call automation neglect. So they tend to ignore the AI information, because you give the information doesn't mean that they're going to use it. And they also they don't also account for the correlation between the AI and their own predictions, because they use the same radiography, right? So it means that when they apply the best rules in the head, it's applied, right? So in fact, this paper is just one paper, right? There are many other papers, but in fact, here it might be better to just assign the radiography to either the doctor or the AI, both, right? Not to give it to a human assisted by AI. So it's kind of something. So I think just one paper, but I think this is something that we really need to understand, because we'll see like more tools are going to be introduced into hospitals, and so many startups are going to develop products, but we need to understand how people are going to use it, and it's going to be effective for healthcare. Let me skip this I just tell you this slide, what it is about. It's about aftercare, and aftercare in particular for older people. And we talk about, I think Namshik talked about quantity and quality of data. So this we talk about ageism. So ageism, so the AI products tends to give poor outcome for older patients, right? And one reason is the quality of data, right? And some data that sometimes you don't even collect data for people who are above 60 years old, or some data collected only from device, from iPhone, from a smartwatch, and so on. And older people don't use this kind of devices, right? So this is something you have to think about, but not only people from age, by gender, by social economic categories. So this could be a big problem. Okay. What can go wrong? So I think that a lot can go wrong, right? I think we know that briefly. So I think this is 2019, 2020. So this was not using AI, but just incorporating technology, So this is in 2019, 2020, there were 2 crashes of the new Boeing 737 MAX, right? So it happened, and what happened is that a new software was introduced, right, in a plane by Boeing, but the pilot were not told that the new software was there, right? And the software was faulty, right? It was called MCAS or something to that they would control the inclination of the plane, and as a result there were 2 crashes. And if you're not aware that the tool is there, you cannot deactivate the tool, right? That's the problem, right? Because you can say, okay, the software might not be reliable, the pilot can override it, right? But here they didn't even know it was there, right? And Boeing decided to do that because they didn't want to retrain the pilots, right? So this is one reason. You are the second article. I won't go too much on this because I think most of you are familiar with San Francisco and the cruise driverless taxi service from General Motors. I think as of today, all these cars are not driving anymore, right? So there can be some issues. The last one is quite interesting. United Healthcare is a medical insurance company, and a lawsuit is occurring. So we cannot see who's wrong, who's right yet, but so United Healthcare has been using AI to deny some medical claims, right, for some senior patients. It seems that algorithms was wrong 90% of the time, right? So this kind of worrisome, right? So this is something that can go wrong, right? So I don't know what kind. So the lawsuit will tell us why it was they still roll out the AI, even though the accuracy rate was so poor. One thing is that when it's human and AI collaboration, but also human controlling AI. You want to control AI, right? So this is a difficult topic. I don't have the answer, but I can pinpoint, show you give you some ideas. First is that respected AI, AI experts don't even agree, right, among them. Right? So here you have in these pictures. So if you work in AI, you might recognize them. You have on the bottom left, there are Jeff Hinton, Andrew Ng, who used to be at Stanford, Yann Lequin, and Yoshia Benjo, right? So Hinton, Lequin, and Benjo got the Turing Award, right, for the discovery of deep learning, and Andrew Ng is a very famous Stanford professor, has been teaching, and he's very active in AI in the Silicon Valley. So you have four experts, the world expert in AI. 2 of them think that AI is a big risk, and 2 of them say AI is not a big risk. The risk can be controlled. So for instance, Yann Lequin thinks that whatever AI do, the engineers can control it. The good guys will prevail against the bad guys, so don't worry about it, right? Andrew Ng thinks that this is really a conspiracy from the big tech companies to control AI, right? So they say big tech companies want regulation so that the startups cannot do new products, right? And then Yoshua Benjo and Jeff Hinton, both of them used to work for Google, and they are very worried. They say that, well, if 5 years from now you have super intelligence AI, we are in big trouble. Personally, I tend to be more on the cautious side. So the thing in the middle, you might have seen this movie. I recommend this if you haven't seen it, Oppenheimer, right? So if you have seen the movie, you might remember a scene at where they have the Trinity atomic trial. So they have a successful atomic explosion at Los Alamos, right? Okay, two minutes. I'm almost done. And once it's successful, General Graves turned to Oppenheimer and said, okay, we're taking it over from it. The military are taking it over from it, right? The physicists are out of the picture, and that's it. The military is doing it. So scientists do not have, like the final say on how the products, so it could be an atomic bomb, it could be a deep learning model, AI model, right? They don't have the final say how it is used. The last picture, and I will conclude. So this is, I think that Nikesh mentioned OpenAI. So this is the Sam Altman. Right? So this is like it's a humorous picture so it happens in the office of OpenAI. So Sam Altman had been talking about creating like a godlike AI, something that like a benevolent God. I think what he had in mind, right? So he said that we can create. So in this character, he said we can create and control a godlike AI. And then the next day, I think a few days after, you get that email. Right? I think you must have read. In fact, he was fired. He was fired from OpenAI. But ChatGPT, GPT-4, 5, 3, they are still there at OpenAI, right? So the AI can outlast their creators, the humans. Right? It's likely to outlast their creators. Those people can get fired anytime, but it's very unlikely that OpenAI is going to fire like a ChatGPT, right? Because it puts so much money in it. So let me, I skip the AI winter things. Let me conclude. So I have no doubt that it will have a great impact in biomedicine, where you see that trend, you see the Moore laws or the Moore's law, and there's a lot of issues that AI can address in healthcare. I think many people say that it has to be like human-centered, a human-centered AI, and you have to care about ethics, consent, risk, security, and so on. Different ways to look at AI and in healthcare. So I'm looking forward to the future progress of AI in biomedicine, and I think it'll be a bumpy road. So here I put some doctors on the roller coaster, right, with their AI friends, but I think it's going to be worth it. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Minh, very much. Because of time, we cannot answer the questions verbally, but if you could answer them in the chat, that would be great. And yes. Also if there are comments from the panelists in the chat list. Thank you. We'll take a 5-minute break instead of 10, and we'll be back at 10:55 PST. Thanks. Thank you so much for all the talks in the first session.